Welcome back to Writers Wednesday. Today we have another book review, and we are going to be reviewing Brandon Sanderson's Elantris. Now, as always, book reviews on the channel are going to be spoiler-free reviews. If you want to go check out the Storytellers Guild, I have a spoiler review discussion and get into all the details here. So let's just get into this. Brandon Sanderson, the fantasy legend, really. I know obviously there's Martin and there's Tolkien and stuff like that, but Sanderson is up there in his world building, in just his accolades. And so going into this book, I was very excited. It was an active choice of mine to choose the first book that he ever released to be the first book I ever read of his, because I kind of get a kick out of that. I really like seeing kind of an author's journey or a studio's journey or whatever journey. And so I wanted to sit down and start with the first book he ever published and then go forward from there. So don't worry, Way of Kings, Mistborn, all the good stuff will be coming. But Elantris came out in 2006, I believe, and it was a very interesting book. It was different. Like I said, this is the first Sanderson book I ever read, and I have to say that it was just a doozy. Like, that sounds stupid, but it was a doozy. And I suppose anybody who's read Sanderson now is like, duh, that's all. But I didn't know that. So even just in the sheer length alone, I was like, wow, this is a crazy story, and it went everywhere. And I liked that. I think the writing skill and the talent that was showcased in this book, which apparently people think is one of his worst books, which encourages me then, because I still really enjoyed it. The talent that was showcased in this book was incredible. The ability to kind of forge this plot, to have three different perspectives, because there's three different perspectives in the book, to follow each and every one of them, kind of have like three different stories weaving together with this intricate timeline and politics and religion and magic and all these like crazy things in history and exposition, and setting up these things, and to be able to take that, A, to come up with it, and then B, to weave it together, and this blew my mind. To be able to come up with the conclusion that was like a satisfying conclusion that ties up, honestly, loose ends that I wasn't even asking to be tied up, like down to wild random side character did this thing. I was like, whoa, that's insane. That was masterful. It was so cathartic of a reading experience to sit there and go, wow, I went through this whole thing. Some of it was good, some of it wasn't good. Maybe it even dragged on a little bit pace-wise, but then it paid off. So just to start with, I'm very impressed with Sanderson, plot-wise, kind of story structure-wise, and excited to go from there. Characters. I really liked the three main characters, Raoden, Serene, and Hrathen. I think those would be your three main characters, one of which is the antagonist. First of all, I love the idea of following the antagonist. I thought that was great. I am a total sucker for stories when they do the thing of they show the same event or similar events from different points of view, and you get a lot of that in this book. I loved that because you're rotating between these three characters. Raoden, I thought he was kind of your perfect protagonist. I know he may be a little bit more... not to get too into it, but a little bit more of your like Captain America vanilla guy as far as character change or just even quirks or different stuff like that. But I think that given where this story was going and what they wanted to do with it, that was actually incredibly important. That was the foundation and kind of like the reliable part of it that you needed. I also think that where his story went in exploring ideas of humans and despair and motivation and what really makes you happy and gives you fulfillment was a fascinating concept, which frankly I did not expect from a book like this. Serene, I thought was a very good female character. It's very hard to do female characters right. Well, I don't know if it's very hard to do female characters right. I know a lot of people don't do female characters right, and especially a lot of men don't do female characters right. Cue every meme about women's boobs in writing ever. But I thought Sanderson did a very good job. We set up this character. We had this idea of this character. She's very headstrong, motivated, determined. And I think one of my favorite things they did with this character was to not be afraid to make the character weak. I think you see that with a lot of female characters, at least in movies. I'm still getting into the literary world, but in the movie world of things, that's a very common thing is, look, in an attempt to make a strong character, we don't give them any weaknesses at all. And as an audience, that's not relatable. I thought Sanderson did a very good job of that. Whether kind of like saying it in the book or not, there were definitely times or moments where she was interacting or going through things where you're going like, dude, that's a dumb move. And he let her suffer the consequences for it, or let it not go as well as it should have because she was rash or harsh or lacked the finesse to work a certain situation. I really appreciated that. The villain was incredible. I don't want to get too much into things. I don't want to get too much into spoilers, but I think the perspective of the villain in this book was one of my favorite things. I think following a villain is a fascinating thing to do in a book, and I thought Sanderson did it masterfully. As far as world, because obviously I feel like that's a big part in all fantasy, is it's like, oh, I want to escape. The world I thought was really cool. I think some people may kind of get down on it for being a little bit basic. There's kind of obvious inspirations of like, oh, this is the Eastern, kind of Asian-inspired country. This is the thing here. I was okay with that, mostly because there was a lot of other things going on, and so to have that sort of foundation of like reliability, I thought was totally fine. I understand that maybe it's not as wild or outlandish as it could have been, but I was totally okay with that. I really liked the world. The idea of this city of Elantris, I thought they did really, really well. I mean, I don't want to get too much into spoiler specifics, but I really, really enjoyed that. As far as magic system, and like I said, I have not read a lot of books. I'm still getting into there, but I'm just going to be honest. This is one of the coolest magic systems I had ever read. It's a hard magic system, as in the rules are defined and everything, the specifics, the mechanics are given, and I think that's incredibly hard to do well. I think it was done very well here. The ability to kind of show the limits and show these things without showing so many of the limits so much to where reading it you could go, oh, that's going to be used for this or this thing. No, it let you live and it let you be in the world, but it also made moments and uses of magic feel earned. And I think that's always the danger of soft or hard magic, is that it feels like a writer Deus Ex Machina, like, oh, and then he just threw a fireball. And this book did such a good job of making it believable and building it into the character arc in the same way the sword fight would be built into this man standing up for his life or whatever it might be. And it was almost an extension of the characters that used it. And I thought that was really, really cool. A lot of the characters were fun. A lot of the side characters were very fun, and I enjoyed the dialogue and kind of the quippiness and the world of it all. And I really liked how Sanderson put time into his side characters. So overall, it definitely wasn't a perfect book. It had its issues. It definitely had some problems with, I think some of the dialogue and characterization was just a little bit surface level. I think definitely the pacing, it did drag in the middle for me. And I think that took away from the book, even though he was able to kind of pull it together in the end. I think it definitely dragged in the middle. So, taking all that into consideration, I'm going to give this book a 6 out of 10. So, let me know what you guys thought of Elantris in the comments down below. Like I said before, we're doing this kind of writers group meets book club off-site, off of YouTube, no copyright garbage, called the Storytellers Guild. If you want to watch the full-length kind of spoiler review of this book, feel free to check it out. There's also a bunch of spoiler reviews to a bunch of other stuff, writing streams, you can post your own stories, just tons of cool stuff. So feel free to check out that link in the description. Let me know what book is next in the Sanderson release schedule and what other kind of fantasy books you want me to read, whether Sanderson or not. And yeah, as always, thank you for being here. Thank you for joining, for watching. If you're new, stick around. We're doing writers videos every single Wednesday. And if you do, I will see you all next Wednesday.